Previously, we discussed the general organization of nephron in mammals as well as in birds. I have given an overview of the functional and the structural organization of the nephron. As I told, today we are going to commit a comparison between the avian and the mammalian nephron system. So let's begin with a comparison and a bit explanation. So I am comparing the nephrons of two different classes of animals. One is mammalian nephron, no doubt, highly specialized nephron and well evolved for the process of conservation of water. And the second one is avian nephron, that is the nephrons of the birds. So let's compare them, how they are different from each other with respect to their function and organization. So the first point is that the mammals show two types of nephron, no doubt about that. That is two types of nephron. One is the cortical nephrons and the second one is the juxtamedullary nephrons. Similarly, this type of concept is not applicable to the birds. In the birds, also you are getting two types of nephron, but these nephrons are classified as reptilian nephrons and the second one is the mammalian nephrons. Students, always remember, whenever you are writing the comparative points, never write in the form of yes or no or present absent. It is not the way. The way is you have to write exactly the points in which they are said to be comparable. Now coming to the second point, here loop of Henle is a major structure. We will see how it is. So loop of Henle in the cortical nephrons, if I will compare, that is little bit smaller, but once I will come to the juxtamedullary, it is longer as well as thinner, as well as they are deep seated towards the medulla. That means loop of Henle is an important structure of the mammalian nephron, whereas if you come to here in the reptilian nephron, means reptilian type of nephron, this loop of Henle is absent. So this is a critical point. Here, instead of loop of Henle, a tubular structure joins the PCT and the DCT. And once I come to the mammalian nephron, here the loop of Henle is shorter compared to the loop of Henle which is present in the mammals. So this makes a very critical difference, as most of the nephrons belonging to the reptilian, means almost 100%, they are lacking the loop of Henle. This phenomenon is not seen in case of the mammalian type of nephrons, both in the type of cortical and juxtamedullary. Next, third point is working efficiency. This efficiency is very high, as it is mostly associated with water conservation, and this water conservation is regulated by the counter current mechanism and particularly the counter current multiplier system. This counter current multiplier system is very developed and efficient in case of the mammalian response. So mammalian nephrons, they are more efficient compared to that of the avians. Now coming to this point here, no doubt efficiency is high, no doubt. It is also high. It is also high. But if you compare with the mammals, it is low. And here, the counter current multiplier system or mechanism as well as the multiplier system is not efficient. Even they are said to be absent. So this is the third point of difference, because I am going to discuss the relevant physiological points which make the mammalian nephrons more advanced compared to that of the avian nephrons. If you consider the mammals, they are mostly ureotelic. That means their excretory material is urea, and therefore they require a very dynamic system of water conservation, as urea is less soluble in water. So that's why a very good amount of water may come out in the form of urine, and that may lead to a case of dehydration, hypovolemia, or imbalance in the fluid balance. But it doesn't happen so, because the mammalian nephrons are so modified that they want to conserve the water in an efficient way, so that the circulating fluid volume is maintained in a homeostatic way or in a normal way. Whereas if you come to the avian system, they are said to be uricotelic. That means they excrete uric acid in their urine. If you compare both the mammals and birds, uric acid requires less amount of water to get out from the body or in the form of urine. It is less soluble compared to that of the urea, but instead a very less amount of water is required for its removal from the body. So due to the difference between uricotelism and ureotelism, these nephrons are so modified. Now let us consider some other dynamic points. So this is the third point which we discussed. Now let's come to the fourth point. And this makes this system very much dynamic. Now coming to this, tuft of glomerular capillaries. Here you are seeing the glomerular capillaries. The tuft is showing 40 to 50 number of intermingled capillaries, and here it is 15 to 20 tufts of capillary. So here also a point is there that glomerulus is very coiled, recoiled, supercoiled. Next, longer proximal convoluted tubule and also thinner, and here it ranges between 18 mm to 20 mm. This is longer, and you can say the longest part of the mammalian nephron. Here this one is 14 to 16 mm, means the length is shorter, and it is compared to that mammalian nephron, it is thicker. So this is another dynamic point. Regarding the third and the last point, blood flow, here it is almost 25% of the cardiac output. That means 1250 ml per minute in the mammalian kidneys. But here it is little bit less, around 20% of the total cardiac output. So here the avian kidneys are receiving less blood compared to that of the mammalian kidney, and this makes the mammalian nephrons more efficient compared to that of the avian nephrons. Here you are getting vasa recta or the peritubular capillary bed, which is very diffuse, that means branched, rebranched, and it is surrounding the loop of Henle. But if you see here, it is this vasa recta almost it is said to be absent or less defined. So this makes another point where these mammalian nephrons are specialized compared to the avians. Next, three more dynamic points. This makes the mammalian kidney or mammalian nephron little bit more efficient. If you come to the loop of Henle, it is either in the cortex or it is in the medulla, depending on the type of nephron, as we discussed. The efficiency of loop of Henle here, as we know that in case of the reptilian type of nephron, loop of Henle is absent, and mammalian type of nephron, this loop of Henle is present. But when a salt rich or a high salt diet is given to the birds or the aves, then this loop of Henle comes into picture. So there is an inter-exchange concept of nephrons is visible in case of avian kidney, which is not seen in case of mammalian kidneys. So this makes a bit more efficient this mammalian system compared to that of the avian nephron. Here, loop of Henle is not longer or smaller, rather depending on the type of diet, there will be shifting of working mechanism of the nephrons. That is reptilian to mammalian, mammalian to reptilian. But this concept is not visible in case of the mammals. Next, hormone dependent function, that is coming in my next lecture, where we'll see how the hormones are regulating the kidney function. Hormone dependent, and particularly the aldosterone, the ADH, they play the most important role in case of the mammalian nephron, and this makes the mammalian nephron more competent compared to that of the avian. But here it is less dependent to the hormones. No doubt aldosterone may play a key role, but vasopressin dependent mechanisms are poorly developed, but ADH dependent mechanisms are poorly developed. So these are some of the points which makes the mammalian nephrons more efficient compared to the avian. The last point what I am discussing, that is juxtaglomerular apparatus. These are JGA. This is required for autoregulatory function of the kidney. They contain the sensors of the kidney which sense the fluid as well as the electrolyte, the blood pressure. That means depending on the JGA activity, the nephrons show modification with respect to their function. But if you see the avian nephron, here JGA is less defined. That means autoregulatory structure of the avian kidney is lesser compared to that of the mammalian kidney. So with this comparison, we came to the end, and we learned that how avian kidneys, nephrons, different from mammalian kidneys or nephrons. In the coming lecture, we are going to discuss about the organization of the glomerulus, and there we will talk about mammalian glomerulus and how the glomerular capillaries and the juxtaglomerular apparatus are responsible for regulation of the glomerular function. So stay tuned for my next lecture. Please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much and keep learning.